Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and since it is July 5th and the Spooky Bitches Council literally said it is now officially Halloween or Summerween, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to be using the Halloween Tarot. So I want to say thank you so much for everyone who is here joining me today. This is going to be a weekly check-in reading for the week of July 5th through I'm assuming it'll be July 11th on Saturday. So here we go. I have not busted out this little bad boy since last spooky season, I believe. It's been a while. I love this deck. And this is a little like tarot, not bag, but like a little cloth, I guess, that I made that I can carry. And then that way you have a clean surface to pull your cards on and can, just have something that protects your cards as well. They're great like in my purse because I have like so much other stuff in my purse, or even when I'm like going to events, which I haven't done in such a long time now. Oh, not 2 jumpers. That's rude. Why do we always gotta have all these jumpers? And I'm gonna apologize if you hear excessive barking in the background. I have one little poochy neighbor who is a fan of repeatedly barking at the same pitch, no breaths all the time from like 7 a.m. until 11 p.m., especially during the summer. Another reason I don't really even like summer here. It's too hot and we don't have AC. So our jumpers, we have the 9 of Pumpkins and the World. So let's put these guys over here. How's that sound? I hope everyone had a nice weekend. I've just been in the house quite a bit as I'm still recovering. So, all right, what do we need to know as a collective? We have the 10 of Bats reversed, which would be the 10 of Swords. All right, what do we need to do as a collective? We have the Tower. My goodness, I see this week is already going to be crazy. And the astrology for July is insane, right? We already had like the Mars-Uranus conjunction. There's been like the moon has been void of course. Like we just have all kinds of stuff already happening this month. All right. So what do we need to release as a collective? We have the Ace of Bats or the Ace of Swords reversed. And then what do we need to contemplate at this time? We have the 4 of Ghost or the 4 of Cups. First jumper that came out was the 9 of Pumpkins or the 9 of Pentacles. Now, I'm going to kind of read this as maybe this is kind of the intention of the energy that maybe we want to focus on this month. I kind of feel sometimes like with jumpers, it's like this energy that is like, hey, you're not paying attention to me, or there's a message here that you're just not really listening to. So this is something that is pertinent, not just to this week, but maybe just overall, like things to just kind of keep in mind. So the 9 of Pentacles or the 9 of Pumpkins is kind of seen as this energy of like, we are doing everything that we need. We're finally getting our well-deserved reward. We're seeing where all of our dedicated effort has brought us. We're seeing, what we've been doing that makes the most sense. And so this can be a time of us like looking at the culmination of everything that we have worked towards. Maybe there's been a lot of stuff that we have been looking at within our spaces, within ourselves, within our health, within our body, our behavior, and even just like who we're surrounding ourselves with, what we have kind of going on, not just internally, but also in our physical world. 9s in tarot to me can very much be this energy of like, I'm so ready to move on to the next thing, but there's just like something that I'm still hanging on to. But there is this kind of energy that comes with the 9 of Pentacles or the 9 of Pumpkins that is saying that, we're almost there. And it's because of our, consistency, our stability, our, stubbornness in some ways to kind of get to where we need to be and like do what we need to do. So I think with the 9 of pumpkins, with like this kind of being this message that's kind of jumping out of the deck, like without regard to the message for the collective for this week. I think that a lot of us, we may be considering, what do we have? What are we doing? What do we value? In the sense of what have we been working towards? What is it that we have been doing all of this time? Where are we finally reaching a culmination of sorts? But I think with this energy is that maybe a lot of us are kind of rethinking, our place in the world, right? Because then we also got the world. So the world is not just this major card that's really allowing us to look at the bigger picture in so many different elements and aspects in our lives. I think if anything, it's kind of saying like, hey, there are a lot of things that we have gone through. There's a lot of things that we have had to learn and, see. And we're finally coming to a place where we feel like, okay, I know what I need to do. I've seen what I need to see. I'm finally ready to kind of move on and do something else. And so I think with the world here, maybe a lot of us are kind of taking a little bit of a step back and looking at, what is actually going on? What is happening? Not just within ourselves, but also in our immediate surroundings. What is happening with our neighbors? I think that maybe this is going to be a time where we're having to learn how to look outside of our own little scope of what we have, kind of like what we've been doing, and looking at, how can we work together with others? Maybe how can we build other community with our world in different ways? And I think that's going to be the biggest lesson that we can kind of take away from not just the astrology this month, which is going to be pretty volatile. We have, I'm sure you've probably heard it if you are anywhere in astrological, YouTube or TikTok or Barbot's basket, where there's just a lot of this very intense energy. There's a lot of, if you're in the United States, America's having a lot of these different returns and planetary, moments that are going to be conjunct the natal kind of chart of the United States. And so that can create a lot of this very intense energy, because if we think of how the United States started, it wasn't a peaceful kind of transition into what it is. So there may be a lot of things happening that can feel very much out of our control. And I think that's the thing with the world, is as much as we're I've been through everything, I've learned what I needed to learn, it's almost okay, what have we been doing to kind of get ourselves together, to kind of learn what sort of things can we kind of bring to our community, and what skills and behaviors will be of benefit, not just to ourselves, but also to the world. And I think with the world, it's also this energy of just learning how to kind of embrace everything that is kind of coming forward at this time, and that maybe we need to kind of keep in mind. I think it's going to be a beautiful opportunity for many of us to look at what we've prioritized and how that makes sense for us in the long term, if that makes sense. I don't know. I've gotten kind of this message, and I think I'm not the only kind of intuitive person that has kind of picked up on this energy of we need to work on the earthly skills. So I think this time is going to be one where we are looking at what we value, what we really need, what will really help us moving forward. Essentially, kind of we get an opportunity to kind of choose what kind of world we want, even if it doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? It may not feel like we have a lot of choice in a lot of things, but I've been seeing so many people that are you know what? Let me absolutely change, and kind of do something else with my life, because the way I've been going hasn't really been something that is making me happy or sustainable or whatever. So I think you'll be seeing especially maybe after the summer, a lot of people are really changing how they've been living their lives, maybe even having a lot of like shifts and just really having to maybe personally reflect on like what actually makes them happy. And I think that's kind of the overall energy for this summer. And I think that's why we have these little jumpers that are like, okay, it's your time. It's time to kind of connect to this and really focus on the things that feel necessary versus like just doing things to do them because we're used to it. All right, let's move on to the actual message of this week. So let's see the very first card for what we need to know. So we have the 10 of Bats, or the 10 of Swords reversed. This is typically a card that I look at as one that is really saying like, hey, you've been through it. You have been, you know, very much like suffering. You have had challenges, you have had difficulties, you have literally, you know, you're at your wits' end, you're done, you're tired, you're exhausted. And right when you think I have nothing left, there is this little bit of like mental energy that says you gotta keep going. You have to kind of pick yourself up, dust yourself off. You have to move on because that's it. You're done. That was it. I just wanted to see how far I could push you kind of vibe. With this being reversed, I like to look at reversals as an internalization of this message. So while it can very much reflect, I feel in a lot of ways, the energy of the 9 of Swords, which is like maybe we have our own mental anxiety that is kind of making us feel like I'm at my wit's end. I don't really know what else to do. And not to sound like one of those like manifestation girlies or whatever, but it's like how we think and what we think about, I do feel, can very much shape not just our surroundings and our earth, right? Our world, I think in a lot of ways can really close us off to seeing opportunity and to seeing possibility and to seeing the, you know, just finding hope or beauty hunting, so to speak, in your life. I feel like sometimes it's so much easier for our brains to latch on to what is wrong, what is bad, what is negative. And, you know, I am someone that has to actively choose to look at the positive, to look at what is good, to focus on the beauty, to focus on what I can change versus like the things that I can't. Because if we look at all of the world's problems and all of the big things, there's just not a lot we can do as an individual. But a lot of individuals can do a lot of things if we all just kind of change how we view things and come together. And I think with this week, what we need to do, or what we need to know is that our anxieties, our fears, the things that we've been thinking about, a lot of these things where we feel kind of trapped, a lot of this is much more of an individual issue in the sense of we're the ones that are kind of putting ourselves there versus like looking at, okay, that's enough. Like we're ready to kind of say, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. I'm not going to sit here and keep being, you know, kind of stuck in this vibe because it doesn't make sense and it's not really something that I want to continue doing. And it is Cancer season. Like, yes, we have some stuff that's been moving into Leo. We have some stuff that's in Aries. We have some stuff in Gemini. So it's not going to feel very much like Cancer season, if that makes sense, the way, you know, it typically would when we have a little bit more kind of going on in Cancer. We do have Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So again, we're maybe kind of going to be looking at a lot of like our wounds, the things that we have been carrying, maybe, you know, wanting to kind of move back into places that feel comfortable, even if they are anxiety producing. So this may be a week where we just have to kind of look at, okay, I already moved past that. So why am I trying to kind of put myself back in the position of feeling anxious and feeling disconnected from myself? Now, with what we need to do, because this is what we need to know, what we need to do, we have the Tower. And I think it's very apt for all of the astrological kind of conjunctions and all of these things that are going to be happening in July that really match up to the OG natal birth chart of the United States, is a lot of us are kind of feeling like, burn this shit down. Like, it's not working. This is crazy. And the Tower is, as much as it is destruction and the unexpected, and it's Uranus, right? It's this Uranian kind of energy. And so I feel like, Uranus and Gemini, it's like we have this like unexpected thought process, right? The bats, that's thoughts, that's the mind. And so we're getting a lot of this air, like kind of fire, not fiery, but like just the quickness of air right now that is kind of pushing us past what we're comfortable doing and what we've kind of known. And so I think with what we need to do is to maybe just go with the flow, because as much as we may not like the discomfort that comes from the energy of the Tower serves as an opportunity for us to have a breakdown that allows us to have a breakthrough. It is, shaking that foundation and saying, see, it was never stable to begin with. It is, really having to learn how to rebuild after things, kind of fall apart, because as creatures of comfort, we are those that will just kind of stay where we are and keep doing what we've been doing, and we kind of entrap ourselves. And I feel like with the Tower, it kind of comes in and says, all right, you know what? You're not changing it, so I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to come in and I'm going to make you uncomfortable. I'm going to do these things because there's something here that is not sustainable. It's not something that can be taken into this next phase. It's not something that, really needs to be a part of your world. You maybe need to learn how to work together instead of so individualistically. So I would definitely look at some of the stuff kind of happening this week, especially with Mercury retrograde, things that maybe feel very unexpected, things that may feel very much out of our hands, like the Tower kind of energy of just like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. And worrying about it isn't going to make it change, and it's not going to prepare you better for it. So with what we need to release, we have the Ace of Bats, or the Ace of Swords. And so here, when I think of the Ace of Swords, I think of like clarity of belief, like we're just getting clear, like clear messages, like just really knowing, what I want to do. And here we have this like mishmash of like, I need to kind of let go of really knowing what it's going to look like moving forward, or how it's going to be. And so maybe I need to stop putting so much pressure on myself to be like, it has to look this way, and I have to be very like aware of what I need to do and have like a whole like plan, which I know can be very uncomfortable for many people. I'm one of those people. I like to just have a plan and know what I'm doing and what it's going to look like. And, there's a lot of things that I don't do because of that lack of knowing how it'll look or knowing what the outcome will be. So I typically am a little bit overly cautious, I guess you could say. So I think with the Ace of Bats reverse this week is that maybe we need to just be okay with not really knowing what comes next. And I think with the Tower message and the Ten of Swords reverse, we're kind of getting this energy of like, you're just not going to know, girl. You're just not going to know, and that's okay. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Maybe we got to just kind of let go of the sense of like, I need to know what's going to happen or what I need to do. We may not be able to plan the way that we want to. We may not always have a lot of like clarity surrounding what we're trying to do, or what we think is the next best step. Now, with what we need to contemplate, we have the Four of Ghosts. It's the Four of Cups, which can very much be this energy of dissatisfaction, discontent, boredom, of just kind of like, oh, really? That's it? That's all I'm getting? That's all it is? Sometimes we have that. We have this sense of like, well, everything looks okay on the outside, but the inside just hasn't really had the opportunity to kind of move forward and do what it needs to do. So with the Four of Cups, I feel like we're getting a little bit of this energy of like, okay. And with this being what we need to contemplate is that maybe we have just checked out in some ways. We haven't really been tuned in. We don't really see everything that is being presented to us because we're like, well, I don't have this, or I'm not going to have that, or this isn't really what I wanted originally. And so we're kind of just being not brats, but maybe being a little bit like, meh, that's not really what I wanted. And it doesn't look the way that I thought it was going to. So I'm just not going to be happy about it. So there's a little bit of this kind of energy, I think, that maybe we need to look at within ourselves of like, well, I don't have this, but I do have that. And it's so easy. And I think with social media and constant scrolling, that so many of us can kind of be like, well, I wish I had that. Or, you know, that's not fair. I didn't get this. When in actuality, we don't really know what that person has had to go through to have that. It's one of these things where I've had to really like check my own kind of like, oh, I wish my life looked this way. I wish I had that. You know, it's so easy for us to kind of get into this like, well, you have this and I don't have that, and you have that and I don't have this. And it's like, I'm trying to work on not letting my like discontent, so to speak, or my boredom, or my like mwah kind of vibes to keep me from being able to kind of tune in and really enjoy what I have right now and what I'm doing and where I'm at and how I'm living, if that makes sense. It's like, you know, kind of like that quote, it's like everywhere you go, there you are. So if you're not someone that can really fix your own level of unhappiness and dissatisfaction and discontent and boredom, it does not matter location, it does not matter. And yes, I know there's astrocartography, so I'm not taking that into account. I'm just saying it's like, it won't matter, because at the end of the day, it's like you're still there. So you have to do your own kind of like healing with yourself and fix your shit. So it looks like it's going to be a very interesting and kind of like heavy week in some ways. So my advice this week would be really looking at the different situations that maybe have been coming up that are requiring a little bit of more of an understanding as far as what you've been doing, what that means for you overall in the grand scheme of things, because there may be some things that we haven't really been paying attention to, as well as looking at where we've kind of allowed our anxieties to keep us from being able to move forward and to have as much of a sense of it's okay when unexpected things happen. We just have to learn how to pivot with it and to not allow ourselves to get kind of distracted by the external noise or thinking, oh, well, this person has this, or they get to do that, or they get to do, you know, this, that, the other, blah, 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 blah. It's sometimes we just forget, like, you know, at the end of the day, we're all just people. We're all just trying to figure it out. Yes, it may seem like other people have it and easier in some ways, but maybe you're more blessed in another area of life that they don't get to have. Or maybe you have, you know, an opportunity that is only available to you because that is who you are. So maybe it's a time to kind of like take a step back, you know, if you really love something, and this goes for anything, you will do what you can, not just to take care of it, but to make it better, to help it be what you need as you grow and as you change and as you shift, just like we do with our homes, right? Our physical places where we live in, when we own a home, things like that. It's like, you know, as we kind of change and kind of like live somewhere long term, many of us will go and be like, I got to remodel this, I got to fix this. If there's an issue with the home, we do what we can to fix it. We don't say, I'm just going to move away. I don't think that you can fix something if you're not there all of the time. And I think the only way things will change and shift, and as we kind of go through like these big astrological things happening, we will have the opportunity to look at like what we need to shift and change and fix and remodel, so to speak, in order to make this home hospitable for everyone that lives there. So that's all I got to say. I hope you guys have a lovely week. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.